Hello everyone and welcome to today's Morning Report on Friday the 17th of June with me, Rich Market Analyst at Handset Markets. We've had a big turnaround in sentiment actually, and it seems as though that the turnaround in sentiment has come on the back of the murder of a UK politician, which has meant that the suspension of the Brexit campaigning has happened, and therefore sort of the market has taken that as a slight sort of move towards a possible benefit for the Remain camp. And subsequently, we've seen a sharp improvement in sterling. We've seen risk appetite across the board improving, and we've seen the dollar sort of coming slightly lower, and that has basically been because the dollar is seen as a safe haven play. And I think the dollar would be a significant beneficiary of a Brexit. So subsequently, the dollar is weakening, and that is impacting across forex markets and is also impacting across sort of commodity markets as well. And equities are rallying. So we're having a very significant turnaround. You've seen sort of treasury yields pulling higher, which is a sign of improved risk appetite as well. We're seeing the oil price bouncing. Yesterday we had again another sell-off on the oil price. Today the oil price is over 1% higher. Now, does that mean that the oil price is going to turn around? Well, I think you can still say that the downtrend or the downshift in the oil price in the last week or so is still really in place, and I think a lot more needs to be done to really confirm the improvement in risk sentiment. But certainly we've seen this sort of, this is the VIX, we've seen a slight downward move on the volatility on equities, and as I said, the dollar is just rolling over as such. And it'll be interesting to see if this turns into a trend or whether it's just a sort of a very short sort of interlude in terms of the market direction that we've seen, which is generally been driven by a safe haven shift into to safe havens such as the yen. I mean, the yen has rebounded quite strongly. The dollar yen has rebounded quite strongly, driving the yen weakness. And it just all seems to have come on the back of this sort of Brexit campaign that has been suspended temporarily. So again, it just depends on how long that suspension becomes. How long the suspension is for, and also what the reaction will be once the campaign starts up again, because obviously we've got this vote next week, and the market volatility is going to remain high in the run-up to that. So what have we got to look forward to today? Well, we've got a little bit of US data and a bit of Canadian inflation. We've got the US building permits and housing starts. Building permits and housing starts both expected to come in at 1.15 million, which is basically just still maintaining the strong moves that we've seen in recent, in the last few years, but maybe to a certain extent just sort of still settling on both building permits and housing starts. Sort of the moves that we'd seen in 2015 just sort of plateauing arguably, but it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Canadian inflation at 130. Expected to just dip slightly on the year-on-year. This is the headline, expected to dip back to 1.6, and the core expected to dip back to 2.1, but not too much difference in terms of the Canadian inflation expected there. But yeah, as I said to you, the improvement in risk is generally the theme of the day. Now, my chart today is the Kiwi dollar, and again, what we had seen yesterday was the Canadian dollar under pressure, as pretty much all the forex markets were. Canadian dollar under pressure prior to the announcement of that politician's death, and subsequently the Kiwi dollar has rallied quite strongly. And it seems to have held on to this pivot. This is the near-term pivot at 68. Sort of 40 area, seems to be 68.60. Sorry, what am I looking at? 69.60. Seems to be holding. This pivot had been in place and been holding over the last couple of days and rallied off that. So that is your near-term support that I think is quite key increasingly, because this looked to be a corrective move, but the move that we've seen sort of in the last couple of days with a positive candle followed by a small positive candle, but with quite high volatility actually in that candle. But still, the stochastics are turning higher. The RSI remaining above 60. MACD lines are okay as well. So it's still pretty positive. And I think if you sort of zoom back, you're still trading in this uptrend channel on the Kiwi dollar. But you're just sort of threatening just to sort of pull back into support. But I think ultimately that would prove to be a chance to buy, because I think this trend channel is pretty decent. You've got all the moving averages rising in a nicely bullish sequence, and it all looks pretty positive, really. So that 69.60 level is your near-term support. That level shown pretty well on that hourly chart, and the hourly RSI nicely finds support at 30. So any sort of dip back towards 30 probably would be seen as a chance to buy, to be honest. It's holding very near term 67. Sorry, at 70.30. Very near term support holding. Again, that's a pivot line. Look, the old support that was from the 13th of June became a resistance on the 14th. So it is clearly a pivot line near term, very near term, is at 70.30. So watch out for that. But certainly I think dips for 69.60 seems to be bought into now. If that 69.60 breaks, then you're sort of looking back towards the more prominent breakout level of 68.80, which was these old highs from October and December, and also became a reaction low through the run higher. So that is a key support also. Also a March high as well. Just saw that. So I think that would be where you'd be coming back to, and that would be around about where the moving averages would come into. So I think any sort of near-term correction, I think is likely to still to be bought into. But you've got some decent support, as I said, 69.60 near-term. I think it'd be interesting to see if we can break back above yesterday's high and regain the upside momentum in this bull run higher. So I wish you good luck in your trading today, and I'll speak to you later. Thank you.